Coach Wilson here, and today I'm going to talk about the power of health wearables. So what exactly is a health wearable? I would define it as a device that you can wear, whether it be a wristband, a watch, a bracelet, a ring, or a monitor that you can wear across your chest or interconnected with a piece of clothing. Now, what exactly do they do? They're going to measure things such as sleep, activity, steps, and rhythms of your heartbeat. How they work is you're going to wear them in one of those specific spots, and they're going to be connected to a user interface. Now you can either signal to that device that you are going to be doing an activity at a specific period of time, or sometimes it may auto capture it depending on the activity, the specificity of the device, or what the user interface's functions consist of. Now, a little bit of history on some of these devices. I would say that they initially came to the market as a fitness tool for runners and cyclists. And it was in the form of a heart rate monitor that was a strap and also being connected to your watch and an app in your phone. Now, when you're running laps, you can see your heart rate zones. You can see what your heart rate is. You can see the fluctuations in your heart rate over time. You could even capture your respiratory rate, and some devices that are more advanced have the capacity to capture your VO2 max. I know that was my introduction to the wearable health tracker space, and that began with the Polar H10, which was a heart rate strap. I got introduced to Polar as a whole probably in the early 2010s, and that is when I was flirting with running triathlons, doing a lot of swimming, and really trying to see the zones that my heart rate would fluctuate through to measure the intensity of the workout. At that period of time, I would then have to go online, pull up these historical records, and then compare and contrast as the app was very limited. I remember in the mid-2010s, that's when the Fitbit really took off, and it had the ability to track the amount of calories I burned per day. It was also tracking my sleep. It was tracking the number of steps I took, and I realized, wow, this is a great way to really track what I'm doing throughout my day and hold me accountable. These devices began to advance and got the ability to send you notifications telling you to move a little more. You could also sync them up with apps like MyFitnessPal, where now you're tracking your activity, your heart rate, your calories burned, as well as the food that you're consuming, and they can all be put into one place to where you can see your entire fitness plan, what's going in, what's coming out as far as calories. Now I have an understanding of how this integrates with my program design and the activities that I'm doing in a day-to-day basis. Now, wearables have increased in their capacity quite a bit over the last 4 to 5 years, and I would say that begins with companies like Aura and Whoop coming to the market. Now, Aura focuses more on sleep, and it is getting advanced sleep metrics, and the best part about it is that I don't have to worry about wearing a device on my wrist that may annoy me. And not everybody sleeps with a watch. Just putting a ring on, you may forget that you're even wearing it. I don't have to log or track anything, and when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna get all the specifics about my quality of sleep, how long I slept, how many times I woke up throughout the night, and even advanced metrics like heart rate variability. Now, Whoop, on the other end, focuses more so on the very active person, the fitness buff, or even the athlete, where they might not be worried so much about steps. They're more about activity, how hard you're working, strain, which is a term that they like to use, and monitoring your quality of recovery to understand how you're going to train on the following day. Now, when we think about those two devices, which neither are a watch, it leads you to believe, well, this wearable space has transferred from capturing this data on a watch to now other items. I wonder what's next. Now, before we talk about what the future holds, let's talk about where we've been. When you see the average person wearing any sort of aesthetics on their body beyond their regular clothing, tends to be a watch. And the Apple Watch, I would say, is the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to functions of a fitness device that will also tell you the time. Why? Because you're going to get that basic function of time, which is a necessity, and you're also going to be able to get those key metrics like your resting heart rate, your respiratory rate, the amount of calories burned, and you're even able to track the hours you sleep every night. I would say that wearable health devices are incredibly beneficial for your life, especially if you know what it is that you were trying to achieve, and just giving you a glance of some key metrics and some assistance in what to watch for and how to make some minor adjustments on a day-to-day. Anyhow, what I've recognized is that it is not the end-all be-all, and just because you invest in a wearable health device does not mean you are going to be accountable or consistent. And what I've also recognized is that a lot of people don't even know what these metrics mean. When we look at something like heart variability, which is a key indicator of stress, recovery, and the quality of sleep that you're having on a nightly basis, HRV is a very complex metric, and different devices quantify your score entirely different. And so a very high score in the 120s may be considered good in a device like Whoop, but in a device like Aura, you see your HRV really high, and that could be alarming. I know for me, I've flirted with all of these devices, including even BioStrap, Garmin, Whoop, Fitbit, and then devices like Elite HRV, where they created a pulse oximeter, which is now discontinued, but that was solely focused on gathering that HRV metric, which is an indicator of how my body is resting and recovering. So you have a broad range of different devices, and I would say that each device is probably based on what the needs are of the user's lifestyle. So that will often drive your decision when you decide which one would best suit your lifestyle. Now, from my experience, I enjoyed using the Aura Ring just because I didn't have to think about anything. I could just wear it, I don't have to log anything, and when I wake up in the morning, I can see how I slept with readings that I felt pretty strongly about, and they were pretty consistent. Now, I've used devices like the Apple Watch, exclusively, might I add, and what I noticed is that there were some fluctuations from time to time, and my recovery score would sometimes be a 25 when I felt really good, and it just didn't make sense to me. Also, when I looked at Apple Health, there were just a lot of different metrics, and sometimes it's just an overload when it comes to establishing, am I in good shape? Am I happy with where I'm at? Is this good or bad? Now, I might know that it's bad, and I can have 3 or 4 consecutive nights of terrible sleep, and that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do something about it. And as a health professional, I most certainly know better, and I have the access to information, but it's still not leading to positive action to improve my health and well-being. And so that's what I find to be the biggest problem with wearable devices, is that although I'm collecting this information, I know what to do with it, but the average person does not. And so how do I make sense of this information, and how can I take these metrics and say, because this number is this, it should be here, what am I gonna have to do to get the outcome that I want? Or even understanding a range of, if my resting heart rate is a 65, I can understand, okay, if I'm in the mid 40s, this is to the level of an elite athlete. And if I am at a 70 or 75, that may mean that I need to stop smoking, or that may mean that I need to lose a little weight, or I may need to focus more of my workouts on cardio. The device isn't interactive like that. It's just giving you the information. It's not giving you the guidance or telling you what it means. And what this leads me to believe is that we have to take the information that we collect and put it in the hands of professionals that are accessible and integrate it into prescribing their form of care. For a health and fitness coach, a certified strength conditioning specialist or a sports-specific private sector coach, incorporating the data of their client's wearable into their program design and tracking that on a daily basis is going to allow them to understand how recovered is their client, how hard are they working on a day-to-day, or do we need to now dial it back because they have been going too hard. And so it's making sense of these metrics to now make adjustments, because anybody on their fitness journey is in a constant state of having to adjust. No 2 days are going to be the same, and so your metrics are going to vary quite a bit, and that's okay. Establishing where you want those baselines to be, and then understanding the behaviors in your life that will facilitate that level of consistency that can help you not only reach your fitness goals, but your personal and professional goals. Because what I've established is that performance will ultimately dictate your ability to get through anything you want in life, because how you do one thing is going to be how you do everything. So if you want to learn more about different wearable devices, we have a link below to a blog where I wrote about the difference in devices, the metrics that they capture, and what they mean on your health journey. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about how you can marry different sources of health data to get a better overview of your health and well-being, start by taking the health risk assessment in the link below, and that will begin your journey to understanding this is where I'm at. This is how I quantify my health risk, and in order to achieve my goals, this is what I'm going to need to do, and it begins with that health risk assessment. So again, I'm Coach Wilson. Here's a little bit of education on health wearables. We are going to be providing a lot more education on all things health, performance, and fitness related. This is just the beginning. We are moving at a hyper speed. Stay tuned.